So as a young child, I always had this passion for arts. I wanted to be like a triple threat, like a singer, dancer, actor. But I love people, and I just wanted to make an impact on the world for the better and for the love of God, really. But I also struggled with identity issues. I'm multiracial. My mother is African American, Hispanic, and Native American, and then my father is Irish or Norwegian. So on one hand, I was kind of, I would say, really outspoken and bold, but on the other hand, I was confused. So that's kind of where I was before my scar. Going into my freshman year of college, I didn't stop believing in God or stating that I had faith or that I loved Him, but my lifestyle began to shift. And I was at a party at one of my friend's apartments one night, and I met this guy who I wasn't honestly attracted to whatsoever. I thought he was kind of weird, but he was a very smooth talker, and I don't remember if I gave him my number that night, but somehow he got my number, and we started talking, and it was just his words, really, the way that he talked to me, that kind of reeled me in, if you'll say that. And I ended up getting in a relationship with him. As I look back, it was so grooming, really. And at that point, I ended up giving him my virginity, which was something that I had planned to wait till I was married. And so as time progressed, obviously when you enter that kind of relationship, your emotions get so tied into it. And because I had this like good girl image prior to that, I was trying to make it work. So make it worth it, I guess. And he basically was a liar. What my probably deepest, darkest place was is I really just started spiraling into accepting things that I wouldn't have. You know, him cussing me out, him talking to me wrong, and then finding out that he was with other girls. And I found that out because I had to go to the doctor, and he had given me an STI. It was STD then, but I guess they call it STIs now. So I was really ashamed, and I didn't tell my parents because I didn't want to disappoint them. Because I was a straight A student, involved in everything. I was going to church, and so I didn't tell them, and I didn't tell any of my friends. So I decided to drive over to his house. I told him that I was coming, and I just had a feeling, I knew that there was another girl there. And so I texted him when I was there, and I walked up to his door and I knocked on it, and he slowly opened it and he peeked out. He's like, "I can't believe you came here." And he just was calling me every name in the book, and he was throwing me around, and he forced me back into his room, and he was like, just saying all these crazy things, and I screamed in his face, like, "You gave me this." And he knew like it was from him because he was the only one that I was with. And he threw me on the bed, and I remember him hovering over me, and I'm thinking like, he's gonna hit me. And for whatever reason, he didn't, but he still thought that it was cool to throw me around. And finally, he let me out of the house, and he threatened me, and I didn't understand how I got to that place, like how I could be in that place. Like I was a smart girl, and here I am with someone who obviously doesn't care or respect me, and I gave him something that I had treasured, only to find out that it was being ripped from me, and with a permanent scar. They said that my cells were so abnormal that they were suggesting surgery to remove part of my cervix, and they told me that that would probably mean that I wouldn't be able to have kids. And so I was really devastated, and I cried on my face on the floor, and I was just crying out to God. I was like, I don't understand why. Like, this isn't fair. This isn't fair. shortly after that, I did a follow-up appointment with my doctor because they were supposed to schedule the surgery, and they tested me and I was 100% normal. And so I was like, God does miracles, physical healings. I experienced it. I spent time with an organization called Breakdown International, and they had a touring team that one of my friends told me about and was like, I think you'd be great for this. And I went on this tour, this missionary tour, and what was significant about it is that I told my story through dancing and acting. And I've had to tell it probably literally hundreds of times in front of tens of thousands of strangers, and specifically young people. But ultimately, sharing my story over and over again gave me healing to an even greater level that I had never known before. Like, I thought that I had forgiven him and myself, but I really hadn't, and I didn't discover those things until I continued to share them. And there was a young lady that pulled me to the side in the back, and she's like, almost detail for detail, had the exact same story as me. And she was like, you know, hearing you gives me hope that I can be healed and that I can move on. And so that moment was, okay, this is why it's so important to not be afraid to share your story and to not let your past define who you are now, because you're really not. Like, it helps mold you, but you are not your mistakes or your bad decisions or what has happened to you. And it's important for us to be able to share those things because other people need to know that they're not alone. And I think that's what is extremely beautiful about Scarred Beautiful, is because people are having the courage and the bravery to say, this is what happened, and this is how I got out of it, and this is how I'm dealing with it. And that lets other people know that they're not the only ones dealing with that, that there shouldn't be shame in that. I know firsthand the effects of being able to share your story and how powerful that is. So if there's anyone out there that particularly relates to my story, whether it's on a great scale or a small scale, what I would say to them is, number one, that you're valuable and don't ever forget that. Part of the reason why I dealt with what I did is because I forgot my value. I forgot what I was worth. And it's okay to say no, and it's okay to leave situations, even if you start to go in a wrong direction. Like, it's never too late to halt and stop and turn back around. I am Kiersten, and I am Scarred Beautiful.